everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody's been having a good week, weekend, etc. So in light of the fact that I've officially finished my first year at university, term ended on June 25th, we had mock exams and everything went really well, I want to make an official course and School of Life Sciences review. So my course, as many people know, and if you're not aware, is Biomedical Sciences at the University of Warwick, and this video actually applies to most life science students in general because first year for Biomed, Biochem, and Biosci is pretty similar. So anyways, let's just dive right into this. I'm going to start with a layout of what the course was actually like. Further on in the video, I'll go on and talk about my opinion and my personal experience with it, but that'll probably kind of get integrated in the entire video anyways, because you know me, I just talk like I'm doing now. So I'm going to put timestamps down in the description at specific times when I talk about different lectures, when I talk about different aspects of the course, and also a timestamp that marks when I start the review. So if, for example, you don't want the course information and you just want my review, you can skip ahead to that. But otherwise, here we go, let's get started. Okay, let's go. Right, so first things first, the modules that we have in first year Biomed. So first term, you only have 3 modules that you do. Well, all 3 of them are core modules, so you have to take all of them. Some people will have to do a 4th module in term 1. I'll get into that in the end. So the first module, and the main module, I guess it's the biggest module of the course, is Molecules, Cells, and Organisms, or MCO, as I refer to it. So MCO is 53 lectures long, and it goes all the way through term 1, plus there's another 10 lectures that you do in term 3. So you get a break from it in term 2, but it is the biggest module. That being said, the way that this module is assessed isn't an end-of-year exam. You get multiple choice exams on sections as you do them throughout the year. So you do 5 multiple choices through term 1, and then you have the 6th one in term 3. And the first one is also formative to just kind of give you the chance to get used to it, kind of see what you're expected, and it's only covering, I think, the first 5 lectures, and then you do an exam on the next block and the next block, etc. MCO starts from the very, very, very basics and moves all the way through. It goes through everything from, I guess, the origin of the molecules and cells that make up organisms, and it goes through and leads up to things like genetics and signal transduction and all of these a lot more complicated systems and workings of organisms. A lot of the labs that you'll do in term 1 as well are all based on things that you'll learn in MCO. So you start with doing simple microbiology labs where you'll be covering firstly pipetting, then you do spreading of bacteria onto agar plates, then looking and identifying bacteria, and then you start to move up to more, I guess, course related kinds of labs as well. Labs, I will cover in just a little bit. Let's not get off track. Let's try and stay on track this time. Okay, yes. So that's MCO. It is quite interesting. It's very broad, and all of life sciences take it. So Biomed, Biosci, Biochem, everyone takes MCO. It's a core module for everyone. The second module is Agents of Infectious Diseases, or AOID. So AOID is kind of what it sounds like. You cover bacteria, viruses, microorganisms, as well as a little bit of epidemiology and the spread of disease. So Agents is also a core module for biomedical scientists. I believe it was also a core module for Biochem and Biosci, but I'm not 100% sure on that. There's no labs that are strictly associated with AOID, but when you do the microbiology labs, you'll start recognizing things from your lectures anyways. Your lectures are going to be different throughout the modules. You don't have one lecture for the entire module. You have one lecture for a section of that module. So you'll end up with, for MCO for example, I think there were 6 different lectures. For AOID, 3 or 4. So you get to see a lot of different lectures throughout these modules. But AOID also links to a different module that goes in Term 2, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. So the third core module that you have to take in Term 1 is Quantitative Skills for Biologists. So Quant Skills is statistics, biological statistics, and also analyzing data, and it's learning how to use computer programs that do statistical tests, how to understand the results that you get, and basically when you read proper lab reports, you're going to see statistical analysis of the data, and it's understanding what that means, whether something's significant, whether you have enough data for something, what you can say about your data based on the statistical analysis of it, the quantitative analysis of it. So Quant Skills is not lab-based. All of the lectures take place in the ICL suite on computers, so you're going to be using a lot of Excel, as well as SPSS, which is the computer program that does the statistical analyses for you. A lot of people, I have to say I was included in one of these people, goes into Quant Skills, goes to the first workshop, and then just decides that it's not worth their time and they don't go to other lectures. The way that Quant Skills is assessed is 2 assessments, each one worth 50% of your grade. One you do when you get back in January, Term 2, and the other one you do over the Easter holiday. These 2 assessments will cover everything from the course, and while it is possible to do them without attending the lectures or the workshops, it's very difficult because the workshops are teaching you how to manipulate and maneuver these programs. If you don't go to them, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. And the reason it's really good to go to the workshops is you get the lecturer, who's a fantastic lecturer, but you also get PhD students who are there helping as well you to work through everything. So you get complete hands-on help. The ICL suite is yours for that hour, and you just get to practice and use it and learn not only how to use the programs, but how to analyze the results. That's the main thing, because teaching yourself how to press a couple of buttons in a computer program is okay, it's quite simple. But teaching yourself how to understand what the results mean, that's a lot harder, and that's where it's really, really useful to come in. The lecturers will say that you need to come in, and people will still not come in, but I've spoken to 2nd and 3rd years, and they all say that those who didn't go really wish they had, because when it comes to writing your 3rd year dissertation or doing more complicated and real lab reports, when you actually need the statistical data, you're going to wish that you had done the quant skills correctly, because it's useful and it's helpful for you. Right, so those are the 3 main ones that all biomedical scientists take in Term 1. If you didn't do chemistry at A-level or IB chemistry, depending on what your qualifications are, you'll have to take another module called Chemistry for Biologists. I didn't have to take it because I did chemistry at A-level, but from what I was told, it's simple. It just covers basic A-level chemistry that you need to understand the content of the course. And it's assessed at the end of Term 1. There's another assessment in the beginning of Term 2, I believe. And it's just a pass-fail. So you either get 40% and you pass and you're good, or you fail and you have to take it again. You do need this basis of chemistry knowledge, though, in order to make sense of a lot of the things that they talk about in lectures, especially in the broader core modules. So just know that if you don't do chemistry now, you will have to take it. This Chemistry for Biologists module. Okay, so that's Term 1. Term 1 was relatively easy. It was simple. We just had labs and we had our modules. I'll get into labs a little bit later as well. Term 2 modules got a bit more interesting. There were core modules and then we had optional modules. So we had 3 options, and of the 3 we chose 2. So the core module, first of all, is Physiology and Metabolism. So Physiology and Metabolism is like what it sounds like. You start with basic physiology and you go into different metabolic pathways, both of animals and plants, so all of respiration, glycolysis, gluconeogenesis, photosynthesis. You cover all of this, and then you also get further into, as you get further into the lectures, you start talking about the respiratory system, the heart, the brain, the nervous system. So you cover a lot of those aspects, and again, this is a core module for everyone to take. So physiology and metabolism, similar to MCO, you do 2 multiple choice tests during the duration of the module, but that only covers the first little bit of it. The rest of physiology and metabolism is actually covered in a end of year exam that you take in term 3. Normally, under normal circumstances. Again, I didn't take this end of year exam because of the way that they shaped our term 3 this year, but normally that's how it would be. Physiology and metabolism also has a couple of labs associated with it. You do a virtual nerve lab, which was actually cancelled for me this year because of what was it? Strikes, that's the word. Okay, there were some strikes going on, so they cancelled our virtual nerve lab. But we did do a respiration lab, so that was actually quite interesting. I had to write that lab report up over Easter holiday. I was partnered up with one of my friends for it, where you just look at respiration, breathing, as well as heart rate and how they're related, how they're affected by different maneuvers and different things, going into the physiology of it all. So that's quite interesting. Then you get the optional modules. The optional modules, the 3 options are animal anatomy and histology, health and community, and environmental plant biology. I believe that's what it's called. So personally, plants aren't the most interesting thing to me. I don't see myself wanting to study it. I went into biomedical sciences to go into the more medical side of things, so I chose animal anatomy and health and community. So animal anatomy is a lab-based module. You only have 4 lectures at the very beginning, and the 4 lectures just cover the basic things that you'll need to know. So they cover how to use a microscope, tissue types, looking at, when you're dissecting an animal, where the organs are, what the tissues are, and just the basis of what you need to know in order to then go into the lab and do the physical lab exercises. And each lab exercise leads up to the final exam, which you do just before the end of term. The way that the labs work is you do it in sessions. So first, for example, we dissected a rat, or a mouse, and we removed the organs in order to get tissue samples for them. The next lab was staining the tissue samples. Then after staining the tissue samples, we came in and we looked at other tissue samples to just learn how to recognize specific tissues. And you look at the different components of them, their structures, their colors, how they stain, etc. And then the final exam is you take your stained tissue sample that you stained, as well as other tissue samples, and you have to recognize and identify them. There's 2 parts to the final year exam though. The other part is a lab book, which you have from the beginning of term to start working on. I recommend starting to work on it from the beginning of term because it is quite a bit. You have to take lecture notes and basically just make yourself a guide of what you would need to do and use in the lab. It should have pictures, it should have visuals, it should have words. It should look like a guide to help someone work through this lab. In the previous years, they've said that they let people use the lab books in the lab, but for our year, due to feedback from previous years, they didn't, because they said it really didn't help much, and people ended up spending more time looking for what they needed than actually doing it, and ran out of time. So that's animal anatomy and histology. It's really interesting if you're looking into being really hands-on and looking at a more lab-based module, and not just pipetting, but actually looking at real tissue samples. I definitely suggest that one because it's really interesting. Health and community. This is where I told you one of the modules in term 2 relates back to AOID from term 1. So health and community is a lot about the spread of disease and among people, pandemics, epidemics, how they spread, how they happen, the calculations associated with them. And it's a really interesting module because it was really relevant right now, and I think that's probably why it was the most interesting for me at the time, because health and community covered everything that was realistically happening in the moment with the COVID-19 outbreak. When that started, that was approximately the same time that we started the health and community lectures. So it was really interesting to look at the news and see an article on something and realize that I understood the terminology. I knew what was going on because I was learning about that simultaneously at the same time. So if you're really interested in looking at diseases, how they spread, how you can prevent them, vaccinations, herd immunity, those kinds of things, that's definitely a module that you might be interested in. Environmental and plant biology, like I said, I didn't take it, but from what I know of it, it is what it sounds like. You talk about the environment, you do a lot of plant biology. I can't go into much detail with it because I don't have much information, but if that's something that you want me to find some more answers on, leave a comment down below. I'll ask some of my friends and get their experiences with that module, and I'll definitely let you know. Okay, so I think I've covered all of the modules. Next is labs. So labs and tutorials are the other two things that I want to cover. So labs are divided into two groups. One group was on Thursday and one group was on Fridays. And labs, the first couple of labs took about 2.5, 3 hours. They were quite short, they were easy because they were just teaching us how to do specific things, like teaching us how to pipette properly, teaching us how to make an agar spread, look at bacteria, all those kinds of things. And the first two labs were formative, so we had to write a lab report, which was basically just a worksheet, and it didn't count for anything. Again, it was just practice. Then every lab from then on, first of all, counted, and second of all, they started getting harder. There were days where I would come to the lab I'd come to the lab at 10, and I would be in the lab until 6 in the afternoon. We are allowed to take a lunch break, so the way labs work is you come in, you put on your lab coat, first of all. That's very important. You're not allowed in the lab without a lab coat. And you'll wait at the bottom. About the first half hour will be a briefing of what the lab today is about. So there's two labs, one on the bottom and one on the top. The bottom is the main lab. I was in the top. And there's two labs on top as well. So everyone is in the main bottom lab first. You get the briefing, then everyone goes to their stations, and you have a lab partner. You do the experiment. Depending on how long the experiment is, you time yourself. So when it gets to about 1, 2 o'clock, if you're feeling like you need a lunch break, you take it. You progress your lab the way that you need it to go, making sure you have enough time to get everything done. Honestly, as long as you have a lab partner who you work well with, and you guys basically can find a rhythm, they're not that bad. Labs can be quite interesting. There are going to be days when you're just completely done with it, you don't want to do anymore, you're ready to burst into tears, or you're just ready to throw a tube. Please don't throw any tubes. The equipment is expensive, but it does break occasionally. But at the end of the day, labs are okay. So every lab that you do, you then have to write up a lab report. If you have labs on Thursday, your lab report's due on Tuesday. If you have labs on Friday, your lab report's due on Wednesday by 12 p.m. That's the deadline. So lab reports, at the beginning, they're going to be quite easy, answering a few questions, writing stuff out. But as you get further into labs, you're going to have to start writing proper lab reports. You will have a guide. So at the beginning, you'll get a guide with not only all the actual lab experiments, but also how to conduct certain things, and then writing a lab report. You get an entire guide on it. You'll get 2 examples of both a good and a bad lab report as well to follow. And from there, eventually when it comes to the 3rd or 4th real lab report, you kind of have a style that you know at that point. You kind of know what comes first. You write an abstract, you write an introduction, etc., etc. So it does get clearer and easier as you go on with them. If you miss a lab, the first 2 it's fine because, like I said, they're formative, they don't count anything for anything, but lab attendance is crucial for passing. You do need to attend labs. If you miss a certain number of labs, you'll get a warning, you'll get asked if everything's okay, and eventually if you miss enough labs, you can actually be excluded from the course completely. So it is important to attend labs. If you are ill or you have to go somewhere and you have to miss a lab, you have to fill out mitigating circumstances forms. These are the kinds of things that will all be covered in the introductory lessons at the beginning of year 1. But I feel like it's a good thing to let you know that ahead of time, just so you kind of know what to expect from it. Tutorials, the next thing. The tutorial system at Warwick is fantastic. It's exceptional, really. You get assigned your tutor after the first few weeks, and you're in a group of anywhere between 4 and 7 people, approximately. Tutorials are mixed, so you have Biomed, Biochem, and Biosci all in the same tutorial. And your tutor may or may not be one of your lecturers, but regardless, they'll be a specialist in some field. You'll have meetings every week for the beginning, mostly. Sometimes it'll be every 2 weeks, but usually it's every week on Fridays. And it's an hour-long meeting. Sometimes you'll have worksheets to do before the tutorial, and then you'll come in and talk about them. Sometimes the tutorial will be more to help you prepare for something, ask you how everything's going. You'll have independent ones at the end of term to kind of give a catch-up, see if you need any help with anything. And they're just a really good chance to get a bit more one-on-one access and, I guess, communication with a specialist in something. So the tutorial system is helpful. I would say I'm very happy that Warwick does it. Of all the universities that I looked at and applied for, I could not be happier with the tutorial system at Warwick. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna go and stop before I continue just saying how great it is, because I do appreciate it. I really, really do appreciate it. That's all said and done, really, about the course structure itself, the modules, and the content. You have exams. So like I said, MCO is completely covered by the multiple choices, so you don't have an end-of-year exam. Physiology and Metabolism, you have the 2 multiple choices, but then you also have a written end-of-year exam. For Animal Anatomy, you have the lab exam and the lab book at the end of term 2. But then the other modules, so Agents of Infectious Diseases, the second half of Physiology and Metabolism, Health and Community, or Environmental Sciences, you have end-of-year written exams, normally. I didn't get to experience those this year because of the pandemic and the cancellation of term 3, and then ultimately the cancellation of first-year exams. I didn't get to experience that. What Life Sciences did do for us was they gave us mock multiple choice exams, so we still got to assess the information that we knew on these modules, but we didn't actually get to experience an essay writing of the exams. So I can't say what it's like, but I do know that normally you write an essay, you have some short answer questions, and that's about it. Again, if you want me to find out some more information about that, also just let me know, and I'll ask some second or third years who did do it and kind of get their input on that. Okay, I guess now it's time for the review. So if you skipped the first half of the video and just jumped here, hello, I'm about to start the review. Life Sciences as a whole, separate from the University of Warwick, does an incredible job. The School of Life Sciences is very, very good at staying on top of things, at providing us with resources, providing us with information, keeping in touch with us, constantly being on top of what's going on. I could not be happier with my lecturers. Yes, every lecturer is different and I prefer some over others, but generally, all of the lecturers that I had knew what they were talking about. When they were teaching, you could tell that they were teaching something that they enjoy teaching. It's not just the kind of lecturers who are standing and monotonously speaking constantly about reading, today we're going to talk about, it's not that. It's lecturers who genuinely know what they're talking about and they enjoy sharing this information with the next, generation of scientists and doctors and us. It's an experience. First year university, first year lectures, it's all an experience. It was completely different. Learning in university, learning in the School of Life Sciences was different, it was fantastic, it was interesting, it was exciting, it was new. I loved it. I loved it. I have to say that I have seen and I've spoken to people in other courses at Warwick, and I've seen that the support offered by School of Life Sciences is phenomenal. Even now, throughout this entire term, when we weren't in the school, the lecturers weren't in the school, the professors weren't in the school, we still get emails periodically. I get emails every single day from Life Sciences updating me on something. Every time that there's an update on anything, you have an email immediately. There's so much organization there, and as soon as you're enrolled and you start getting this information on when your lectures are, when your tests are, if you have questions as well, lecturers will email you back. It's really, really easy to get the information that you need, to get the content that you need, to ask extra questions if you don't understand something from a lecture. It's also an interesting course. I mean, I chose Biomedical Sciences knowingly. I did a lot of research when I came into looking at what course I wanted to do. I knew I wanted something medical-ish, biologically related, but I didn't necessarily know what. I didn't know what Biomedical Sciences was until I started this research, and I'm so happy with my decision. I'm not necessarily a chemist, so biochemistry would be really hard for me, but at the same time, like I said, I don't like studying plants as much, so biological sciences just also wasn't as interesting to me. But this mix of the medical aspect and the biological aspect and the molecular aspect of everything all combined together, I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm super, super happy with my course. I'm so glad that I chose it. I'm glad that I went to Warwick as well, because I like the way that the School of Life Sciences at Warwick teaches. I like the structure that they have. The way that year one is very mixed, it kind of takes everyone, gives them the same base, it gives everyone the same chance to choose what they want. And it gives everyone the opportunity to specify as well what you're interested in. It gives you the opportunity to find your niche and then divulge further into that in the further years. I can't wait to start my term 2 teachings. I've been going over this entire term, and now as well, continually going over my notes, my lectures, making new notes just to have for next year's resources. I cannot wait to get back. I'm excited. I really am. I love my course. I love the university. If you sent me back when I was doing my A-levels and told me that I could take any A-level grades I want and get into any university I wanted, but with the current knowledge that I have today, I would still go to Warwick. I would still go to the School of Life Sciences just because it fits me really, really well. The style of teaching, the style of assessment, the amount of help that you get, the lectures, I like it. It fits me. I love it. I really, really do love it. Okay. This video is quite long. I hope this video was useful and helpful, and anyone who watches it finds exactly what they're looking for. Like I said, at any point throughout the video, if you have questions about something that I didn't necessarily cover in detail, or you want to know a bit more about it, drop me a comment down below, hit me up on social media, let me know. I will do my best to find as much information for you as possible. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week, and more weeks to come, and a great summer. And to all of you future first years, I hope you guys find this useful and helpful, and it just gets you looking forward to the course next year.